Hi, I'm Zoe Morgan Chiswick, and I'm the writer-director of the film. I live in London, and producer. Did all the stuff.
I didn't do all the stuff. I'm an actor, and I also co-produced with Zoe.
So this was actually a play first, before it was a film. I don't know if that surprises anyone or not. But it was kind of about the idea of, like, falling in love with the idea of somebody. So you kind of think that you know someone, but actually you just want to be in love, and then you have the idea of it, and then you kind of like get obsessed with the idea of it. So it was also about the idea of a woman kind of seducing a man, rather than the other way around, because that's how it started, with the male voice.
The way it was shot, you got one location, you got no movement, you've got two actors. What are the real challenges in that? Because it comes across to the audience as something that's very simple, but the writing isn't. You know, you're constantly challenging yourself about what you're listening to, what the characters are, they related to, blah, blah, blah. Then there's this twist at the end, which is really dark. Where are they? What's the situation? Who are they speaking to? And that kind of thing. I don't know who to ask that question to, but what was the process behind that? There's a lot to take in there, I know. You can take your time.
Yeah. When it was originally done as a play, it seemed a lot clearer. And then when Zoe and I were chatting about sort of making it into two voices and make it, because we're both very interested in sort of the idea of stereotypes and the way that men come across and women come across, and that men do something that seems romantic, women do it and it's psycho, or vice versa. Like, women can get away with saying something that seems sweet, and if a man says it, it can be like just really. So it was, I think, from having seen the play originally, and it was like, how can we sort of play with this a little bit? So we thought about the idea of, like, sort of, I don't know if this is, but like, the idea of it being someone either in counselling or prison or something, like, but then we decided, no, let's just make it much more like, almost like a vacuum, that this can be anyone, anywhere. It didn't really matter after a while, did it? It was just the idea of someone opening up in a place where they would feel like they could tell you more than they might in the pub. If it had been in reality, it would be like, what? The way it is with theatre is you can get away with that. With film, it sort of feels like you need to suspend your belief a bit more. So by putting it in sort of this vacuum of, like, this could be anywhere, any place, that people are just going to go with it and listen, rather than think like, really? Would he say that? Would she tell me that? Or whatever, you know, it sort of doesn't matter. Did I answer the question?
Yeah. Because I was thinking at there's a line towards the end, and please don't quote me because I haven't learned the script, but there's a line towards the end where they sing, and that's why we're here. Or something on those lines, where I think it was, I think you both might have said it, I can't remember because you were crossing lines over all the time. But there was something like that, and it made me question, are they in prison? Are they speaking to a psychiatrist? Are they somewhere that we're meant to try and invent ourselves as an audience member?
Yeah, it's sort of wherever the here is, but also I wouldn't have been here as in while the story is being told. So I think she is standing outside the house in the dark at night, staring at this person's window. So I think it's like I wouldn't have been here. Could be so many different heres, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, the writers should really be answering these questions.
Yeah, it was, so it was them standing in front of the house. Like, I wouldn't have been here in this situation throwing a stone at your window if you hadn't come up to me in the bar and made me. You know, when, like, you hear psycho killers talk and they're like, oh, look what you made me do. Like, it was, I kind of wanted to invoke that thought of it being like, you know, he really did blame her and she blamed him for making them, like, go to this place. It was like, you know, almost like they didn't fall in love, like they were just sort of using this person as an object themselves. By thinking they were being called an object, they weren't. They thought, you know, they were using this person as an obsession or a love, kind of, for something they needed. And then it was like, at the end, you know, I need to tell you. It's like, this other person didn't even know them, so yeah, here was outside.
I wanted to question about the fact it was shot in black and white, and also the framing of it was square throughout a lot of it. What's the reason behind that?
I just thought, like, with the two, male, female, the black and white, like, looked, like a comparison between the two. So it was very much like you dress the same, wearing the same t-shirt, sort of like a yin and yang kind of situation. And was also inspired by some of the actors' room monologues that we saw, that they were 14 actors acting. That was something we watched and was, it was amazing. It was kind of like an acting piece in a box, which is sort of what I went for. And then, and it made the push in easier because there was nowhere else to go. It was just like, let's get closer and more uncomfortable and see how that goes. It was very deliberate. It was meant to kind of be a very top light, spotlight kind of aura sense about it, and we tried to kind of create a smoky environment as well, so it could really bring out, the center of the piece, which was the actor. And in the piece, it was just the male actor who did the theatre piece, and it was very much, he could move around and he was really talking to the audience. So then when you took that away, it would have been ridiculous for him to try and talk to camera. So that kind of made all the actions and visionary things that he did when he did the play impossible. So then everything had to kind of come back down, centralized, which is usually what happens with theatre and film. You kind of have to do a lot less because then, you have to imagine it, and he couldn't be telling the story to the camera because that's a very different feel to it. So there was a lot of adjustment. Definitely when he got to the house. So in the play, he had a rose, and he has long hair, so he would throw his hair back, and it was very much an interactive process when he was at the house, and kind of a Romeo sort of scenario, which we couldn't get at all in the play, in the film, and it just ended up being lots of other things that was kind of small nuance that had to be very subtle, which I thought was quite interesting challenge and kind of nice to be able to bring it down like that.
But the script didn't change at all apart from the pronouns. It was exactly the same script.
Pronouns.
Yeah. But then we also thought about what if we do it? It's once you start doing it, you're like, how many different ways can we do it? And you're like, oh my god, and you can sort of get have women talking about women, men talking about men talking about the whole it just sort of once you start it, you want to do all of the scenarios, and then when you start with gender, then you're like, okay, where else can we take it? And then it would be an hour film. So maybe that's Zoe's next project.
I think that was one of the challenges for us, kind of thinking about a man and a woman, and we were talking about it a lot because in the play he strangles her, and it's very simple and easy not to have anything else, and we were thinking, okay, but she's got to be at the end of this, and then we have to have the implication that she has also killed him, otherwise it's not exactly equal and kind of unfair. And so we really wanted to get that across, but be subtle about it, so we used the lighting in that sense as well to kind of reveal it at the last minute so it didn't seem as abrasive as it might have been. So we spent a long time trying to kind of reveal that slowly so it would not be too much but still be there, and same with the flickers of her face throughout the end, so you knew it was the same person, but so it wasn't kind of too much, and you could still see that she was there, but it wouldn't be very believable to hear her give the exact same speech because you wouldn't think she would be able to strangle a man or cover his mouth and he wouldn't be able to do anything about it. So that's where we went with that.
What else can you shoot for us so we can see other characters, or perhaps these characters in different situations, or if it was a play, we've just seen about 5 minutes of that. What else have you got for us? When are you shooting it?
Well, this was a monologue piece, so it was standalone, but I think using the gender of kind of what any given sentence sounds like when you hear it from a different perspective, I would really like to do more pieces where it's kind of, different characters, different cultures, different people, and how different the protagonist sounds. And another reason we did, both man and woman was just the thought that really, like, when you can choose your protagonist, we always seem to see a lot of the same people sometimes in our favourite TV shows or films, and I just wanted to play with the idea of this could be anyone, and how different does it sound when you hear the same sentence spoken from a different age group or whatever different. So yeah. So in the play there was a kind of a disco dance track to introduce it, but with the film I realised that a kind of silence and then all that's already going on in that film, you know, it's going to be very intense. And so yeah, I kind of wanted the element of the dance track because I wanted it to be like they'd met in a club or a bar, somewhere that was fun, and then midway through starts to turn a bit like it doesn't sound great anymore. And sort of like what happens with horror films, sometimes you don't realise how horrifying the music is, but if you turned it off you wouldn't be that scared. So I did definitely want to introduce a minor element to the dance track, but still keep the beat there, so kind of the heartbeat was still racing, and it was kind of it was actually the sound man who composed the track, Terry Hurd, and he's absolutely incredible. He just was like, oh, I also compose, so I'll just throw something together for you. And he did something incredible. And he also had those kind of firework effects near the end, which were just absolutely perfect for me because they were kind of bringing out, you know, the expression of somebody feeling completely in love and euphoric. And then it was kind of, but it didn't sound very, it was like a minor key, so, yeah. So I think Tom has done more theatre, but you've done both theatre and film. And I think working with Tom after he'd done the play was very interesting because it's kind of just such a completely different thing. And I feel like his performance gets like the gravity of when he was on stage. And then there's some parts like where he says turn on the light, and it was like he was still doing some of the actions of when he was on stage. And yeah, I think usually with the two different arts, it feels like film you have to do a lot less to say a lot more. And if you end up doing any more, then it kind of, you know, comes across as too much sometimes. So I just thought, I don't know, they both managed to just create an incredible world on film that felt completely different to when they would have done it in the theatre. So yeah, it was amazing.
Becky, that was it. Thank you so much. All right then, superb.